This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
O Captain, My Captain is an allegorical poem written by Walt Whitman. The poem is one of the best extended allegorical poems. Among the significant poetic concepts and literary devices that make his poem exceptional are the sound of words, a combination of words to reveal a special effect when we read them, and allusion, allegory, referring to something in an indirect manner, without using words that signify that one has made any direct reference. In this essay, O Captain, My Captain, shall be reviewed and analyzed. Moreover, he extensively incorporates imagery, vivid language that evokes mental images or generates ideas, and rhyme, words having different sounds but with endings that sound alike, to make the poem more allegorical. The extensive use of poetry concepts has made people an in-depth understanding of the poem about Abraham Lincoln, the American president. In essence, the allusion in O Captain, My Captain refers to Abraham Lincoln. Whitman wrote the poem in the year 1865, the same year that Lincoln died. Captain is an allusion to the president, Abraham Lincoln, while the ship is an allusion to the United States. The fearful trip is an allusion of the troubles that the Americans, including the president, have to go through during the American Civil War, while the phrase "some dream that on the deck, fallen cold and dead" is an allusion of Lincoln's assassination. This implies that the poem is an allusion of Lincoln's assassination during the American Civil War, a time when Americans were troubled and feared that they would die because of the war. We get to know more about the assassination and the era through imagery, which incorporates three senses: sound, touch, and sight. Sight is in the second part of the first paragraph, the second line, "Oh, bleeding drops of red." One gets to envision the captain bleeding and wonders what could have caused the bleeding. This makes us realize someone hurt Captain Lincoln, which leads to the irony in the poem. In the second paragraph, the second line of the first part, there is sound imagery: the bugle trills. This makes one imagine how joyful people were. Even though he was dead, people were grateful to Lincoln for helping them end the Civil War, and that is why they held him highly. Thus, the allegory in O Captain, My Captain is evident. One of the imagery incorporating touch is in the third paragraph, the first part, the second line, "He has nor pulse not will." This makes one realize the sadness of the poet as well as the people. Someone has to feel Lincoln's pulse to ascertain that he is dead. It is unbelievable that he will never be the president even though he has helped Americans deal with the war. The poem makes use of internal rhyme to maintain a steady rhythm. In line 3, "The port is near, the bells I hear," and in the 20th line from "Fearful Trip, the victor ship," the poem exhibits an internal rhyme that enables the poem to have a joyful, quick, and upbeat rhythm. Special syntax structure that features parallelism in lines adds to the tone of the poem. This exhibits excitement, and we get to know that the poet is speaking about how people are excited that they have won the Civil War. However, when the poet is talking about sullen and sad moments, he interrupts the poem's rhythm and redirects the attention of the reader. To emphasize the shock of finding out that Captain Lincoln is dead, the poet makes sure that in each paragraph, the first part has a distinct rhyme scheme pattern. Nevertheless, as the analysis essay on O Captain, My Captain shows, in the second part of each section, the rhyme scheme changes and focuses on the mood that reveals that the Captain, Lincoln, is dead. For instance, in the first paragraph, the rhyme is AABB. However, in the second part, the rhyme takes a different direction: def. The poet also makes use of words and their sounds to communicate to the audience. In lines 1 and 9, the repetition of the phrase "O Captain, My Captain" is used to reveal that the captain's death immensely shocked the poet. In addition, at the end of every paragraph, the phrase "fallen cold and dead" is repeated. This emphasizes how difficult it is for people, including the poet, to believe that Lincoln is already dead. The repetition in "O Captain, My Captain" reveals intense sadness and a hidden wish, the wish that Lincoln was alive. As explained, all the major poetry concepts used by Whitman, including the sound of words, allusion, imagery, and rhyme, help us to understand the poem better in the form of a poem based on an extended metaphor. Did you like this, O Captain? My Captain, by Walt Whitman, Literary Devices Sample. To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs.